I want to thank our sponsor, Flight Club Spirit, which is an aircraft-inspired collaboration between contemporary artist Graphic Aircraft and the internationally award-winning Defiance Distillery. They produce 8 different types of aviation-themed gin and rum, each with a different iconic aircraft pictured on the bottle to suit all different types of avgeek. Make sure you head to their website at defiancedistillery.co.uk to check out all their amazing spirits and products. If you enjoy our videos and podcasts and would like us to continue putting out regular quality content, head over to patreon.com/aircrewinterview where you can donate monthly, and in return you will get rewards ranging from early interview viewings, bonus clips, credited as a producer, and much more. Thank you and enjoy. So if you want to just do it now, Dave, and then get going.
Okay.
Right, there we
Looks
go.
good. High Octane Gin.
By Defiance Distillery.
Well,
That's the last bit of beer you give me.
that sounds good. A gin with an aviation flavour has got to be a good thing.
It's got tornado on the front, so you can't go wrong, can you?
Can't go wrong. And then a little bit of tonic.
You're a Fever Tree man as well.
I do like the Fever Tree. It's different. We'll have some lemon or cucumber, but we're a bit short of that today.
No worries.
There we go.
Oh, thanks very much, Dave. It's got a tornado on the front as well, and
Tornado on the
Defiance
front.
Distillery,
Oh,
yeah.
Look at that. Eh?
Not bad. Well, thanks
Cheers.
very much for inviting me round, Dave.
You're very welcome.
So, what we've been up to today, you inform all the viewers. We've been pretty busy.
Well, I myself and Phil Keeble published a book a couple of weeks ago, and it's just gone on release. And we went up to Newark today to actually be next to the Phantom that is on the cover of the book and have a quick chat, which was great fun.
Yeah.
But Phil and I have been trying to get together to sign the books for the first launch customers, and we managed to get together today. And I think it's the first time I've seen Phil since. Well, it must have been since our days on the OCU.
No way.
Yeah, because
you're in regular contact on social media.
Oh yeah. And email and telephone and all the rest of it. But Phil, after he left the Air Force, became a vicar, and he went off to Anglesey.
I was surprised about that when I first
heard
that.
Indeed, yeah. But did that for a number of years. But he's done all sorts of other stuff over at Anglesey, and including helping out with the RNLI and various things like that. But we've never got together again because of our lack of proximity. So today it was really good to see him and sort of catch up with old times and say hello. So,
but he did a naughty thing, didn't he?
He did.
With his mask and tape. You tell everyone what happened.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We thought it was a joke at first.
We did, and he was quite serious, wasn't he?
He was.
The XV490 is an aeroplane that was my aeroplane in Germany when I was on the squadron, and I was crewed with a chap called Tony Wheeler. And when Mike Davey, who owns the aeroplane, found out that we'd been crewed together, he repainted the aeroplane in the old scheme that it wore on 92 Squadron back in the day when it was our aeroplane. So our little name plaque is on the front, Flight Lieutenant Wheeler, Flight Lieutenant Gledhill at the time. And sure enough, it's right in shot whenever you take any pictures next to the cockpit. And Keeb's got a little bit miffed about that and decided he didn't want Tony Wheeler to be in his shot. So he got a bit of botch tape out and just masked it over. So, Tony, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You came down with all your flight gear, and you brought your helmets, which is cool as well. And you got some nice publicity shots. But who was the guy who took it again? Was it Craig?
Craig Sluman.
Yeah, Sluman, yeah.
Craig is big on social media, but he's also a very talented photographer. And more importantly, he helps me out on the Tornado F3 simulator. He's one of our team of volunteers. So Craig was good enough to come along today and take some shots on the day that hopefully we can get out on social media and let everybody see what was going on.
Yeah, definitely.
So
what about on the book? Tell us a bit about it, because obviously it's people are gonna watch this and want to know where to get it from, what's it about. So what's it about?
Good gin, by the way.
It's nice, isn't it?
We decided between us, and I think chatting to Phil today, we sort of both had the same idea that it would be really good to look at training a crew onto the Phantom, from what did you think about at school? What were you, where did you start from? How did you get to join the Air Force and then get through training and all the pitfalls of going through training? right the way through the operational conversion unit onto the squadron. And we both looked at it and thought, well, is there a book in it in isolation? And I think we'd probably both concluded that there wasn't. But by getting together, Keeble was able to tell the pilot's story, and I was able to tell the navigator's story, and that made it a much more rounded book. So we literally did, what were you doing as a kid, standing gawking at the airport boundary, watching airplanes go by, and, air training corps, and all the way through, how did you get through selection, the basic training, the advanced training. And each bit is part of the chapters of the book. And I think we both have very different styles. Keeble is he's got a great sense of humour, and he's quite irreverent for a vicar, but he's great fun to work with. Yeah, and he's got this style that is just amusing, and gets close to the bone at times, which I'm a little bit cautious of, but great style. Whereas I'm a little bit more serious, maybe, and a little bit more technical in certain areas and what have you. But to put the two together, I think it works. And
yeah, definitely.
So great fun.
I'll be picking up my hopefully signed copy before I go home.
Yes,
tomorrow.
Indeed. Yeah.
But yeah, so when's the last time you actually went down Newark? Because we were chatting in the car before this, but did you say it was a while ago? It was last year sometime, I think.
I think it was Cockpit Fest back last year. Cockpit Fest, for those that don't know, is the people that own the cockpits of the airplanes get together once a year at Newark, and they have a whole weekend where they all camp out in the field, and the guests come and see the cockpits. Some of them are work in progress, some of them are lavishly restored, including the Phantom, which is beautifully restored. Best I think there is out there. Get together, have a great weekend, and the visitors come in and see them. Yeah. But I think that was the last time I was up there.
Yeah. But you knackered the pin today, didn't you?
I did. yeah. Mike Davies is going to kill me. I opened the canopies, and normally Mike helps out on that. And the back cockpit went perfectly. And then when I think I put the old stay that holds it upright in upside down, put the pin in and couldn't get it out again. But
we got
luckily
there
we had experts to help us out to get the pin out. But we got there in the end.
So I don't think I've actually asked you this question directly. Why do you love the Phantom so much? Like, what does it mean to you?
Well, it's your first aeroplane, therefore, first fast jet. Therefore, it's always got a special place. If you looked at it in isolation, the Phantom was, particularly in the back seat, it was dark, it was hot, it was uncomfortable, the view out was terrible.
Did they have a nickname for the
pit, or the ergonomic slum? Yeah. So you wouldn't choose it as a leader for a navigator's little office. But having said that, the aeroplane had charisma. And in the early days, it was extremely good at his job. So it was great fun to fly, and but I guess I was happy when I moved on, because it had kind of run its course. It was getting a little bit old, and things were starting not to work. But I loved my time on the aeroplane, and it's still got a very fond place in my heart. So
because it was the first interview I ever did was with 490, and it was how many years ago? That must have been 5 years ago now.
Good heavens, yeah.
Good heavens, yeah. But
out of little acorns.
I know, yeah. I think I remember. I was like, when I came up with the idea, I was like, Dave Gledhill, I was like, I knew your books, and I was like, should I message him? He's no way he's going to message me back. And you were really generous, and you were like, yeah, I'll be up for that. And
it's great fun.
Having a drink with him now.
There you go. Yeah. Cheers.
So what have you been up to since? Well, I guess the book came out. Was it a couple of weeks ago when it was like actually released to the public? Have you been just typing away at all, or?
Well, to be honest, the heavy work is just up to the book release. You've got the editing, you've got to get it out to the company and all the rest of it, and get it ready for publication. So that's the busy period. I think the next busy period starts now, because a lot of people have kindly ordered copies, signed copies. So we've got to get those sorted out. Hence today's visit, to collect the books that Phil has already signed. Yeah. And then get them out to the people that have ordered them. So that'll be a busy few weeks. I'd love to say there's a world tour coming up, but there isn't.
You never know. You never know.
I'm just waiting for that movie contract now, but it's not coming yet.
But you ever thought about that, putting a book into a movie? Like, because obviously you got, like, how many novels now? Because they're in the back, which I'll show you guys later, but you got a few.
7 novels now, and I think they make great movies. Yeah. I'm sure a company could, make them into, good Cold War thrillers, but... it's that spark, isn't it? It's always getting that first, that little break that everybody needs. But
is it something you actually thought of realistically, or is it just kind of maybe?
I put a little feeler out there with a company, but no takers yet. But there'll be the time when the Cold War thriller about airplanes is needed, and hopefully I'm there to stand in.
With Top Gun 2 coming out next year,
Exactly
you never know. What do you think about that coming out? Are you going to go and watch it?
Yeah, it's good. I remember when Top Gun 1 came out, and I just converted onto the Tornado at that time.
It's like 86, 87, and
it was about 86, I think. It was, and I remember we had the ability to put an audio cassette into the data recorder, but listen back. So of course, a number of people had Top Gun, Danger Zone on an audio cassette that they played back in the aeroplane.
Really?
Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. Did the F3 have that?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's more of an F-14 kind of aircraft, so I thought that would have been more relevant.
yeah. But it was great fun, but not terribly realistic. I mean, if you did it realistically, it wouldn't look good for the cameras. So you've got to be in close formation with people doing whiffadills and whatever.
Yeah, of course. And it's a movie at the end of the day. It's not a documentary. But
exactly.
Do you ever watch aviation documentaries or anything like that?
All the time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Have you got like a certain theme you go for? Cold War,
No,
World War II?
Not at
anything?
all. Anything.
Yeah.
I watched Spitfire the other day, which was
that was on BBC 4 the other
I think it
week
was.
Or something, yeah.
Brilliant documentary.
Not watched
and of course, Jeffrey Wellham being one of the openers, a fellow Cobra, one of my ex-squadron, 92 Squadron. And but a brilliant documentary, very well done. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, because I always think like there's not many documentaries made recently on aviation. They all seem to be like 90s-ish. There's never like a modern one. I mean, I was talking to Mike Napier, which we were talking about, the RAF 100 documentary. What did you think of that? Did you watch it?
Very good. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought they did it very well. Yeah. Good flavour across the years. So, very happy with that. I thought the Cold War was going to take off at one point. There was the German, it was a fictional series, though, called Deutschland 84. And I thought that was it was subtitled in German.
Okay, right.
I thought that was going to take off, but it had a second series, which wasn't attached on the first. But good Cold War stuff, which is, of course, what I write about in the novels. Yeah. So really enjoyed that. But yeah, I don't have any themes. I suppose I'm a little bit more on the historic aeroplanes now, since I started off as a Battle of Britain Memorial Flight Guide. Yeah. And
which we'll come on to, yeah.
There's a great little theme there going.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't got anything. I'll watch anything about aeroplanes.
Yeah. Because there was that one, I think I posted into the former F3 Flyers group. Was it a 1990s documentary where it was F3 guys? It was like a mini-series. Yes. What was it called?
That was 5 Squadron, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called.
5 Squadron at Maple Flag, I think it was.
No, not that one. It was like a sort of drama, but it was like...
Oh, right. In the 80s?
No, it was a 90s thing.
90s. Not Squadron.
It was called like Strike Force or something.
Yes.
Is that... Yeah.
It's the same one we're thinking of.
Oh, is it?
Set in Cyprus, where they had a fictional little squadron. There was a Phantom, a Puma, something else. Was that the one?
It might have been.
They went off and did wacky daring do things.
Yeah, it might have been, but I watched that the other day again. It was like there was a female pilot who just came in, and all the girls were not liking it.
Not the one I'm thinking of then.
Right, yeah.
That predated the ladies flying the airplanes.
Yeah, because I search everything Tornado F3, and anything comes up, I'm like, click. Yeah, straight away. As you know, it's my favourite plane, but...
I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, you'll probably be embarrassed by it. It's horrendous, yeah. But this is probably a silly question, but your favourite plane is probably the Phantom, I'm guessing.
I think it probably is.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I would have loved to have flown other aeroplanes, including American airplanes, but I never got that opportunity. Although I did do 2 exchange tours over in the US. Yeah. So, but I'm not flying tours; they were ground jobs.
You never got a trip anywhere?
I didn't. No, sadly, no.
Oh,
I should have done, because I was at Nellis for 3 years, and I didn't call in any of the markers at the end of the tour. I was kind of promised an F-15 ride, which would have been one of my accolades, but I never did manage that. But no, there's a great guy called Skids who was a very experienced F-15 pilot. Threatened me a couple of times with a ride, and I never managed to make it.
No.
So.
Because you kind of did a book on that, didn't you, when you were over there? Operational, what's it called?
Operational Test.
Yeah, Operational Test. Was that based kind of on that?
Yeah, mostly based in the UK, but a few mentions of the stuff we did in the States as well at China Lake. Yeah, but Nellis is the home of the fighter pilot. Now it's a little bit more politically correct, but a great place, massive base. It's 10,000 people, set on the outskirts of Las Vegas. So it was a bit of a punishment tour.
Yeah, because the first happy hour I did, I got fed by Foo, Jeremiah Weed. Oh, Jesus.
That is a Nellis special. I've had a few of those, and it nearly blew my socks off.
Yeah, I had one, and I won't be trying it again in a hurry. But this gin is actually quite nice.
It's very good.
Yeah,
it's very good.
But what do you normally drink? Are you more of a wine man or a spirit man?
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll come on to that.
Yeah,
but,
we will.
I'm a red wine drinker now.
Yeah.
I think 2 tours in the States, it put me off beer.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you can.
I'm an ale drinker, therefore, States beer is all lager. And I'm not a lager fan.
No.
At all. No.
What's the closest you'll come?
An IPA probably.
Really?
Is about as close as I prefer.
Yeah.
I'll drink it, but it's not
your
my
choice. Yeah.
Too gassy. Yeah, not my favourite. So I switched to red wine, and red wine's my tipple now.
Do you drink it chilled? Because
no.
You like
I used to, but
room temperature.
but hopefully I can afford a little bit more now, than, rather than the rock gut I used to drink. And so I tend to drink it room temperature now. But I love Chiantis and Riocas and that kind of red wine. It's that's my favourite. But same, we'll probably sample one later, I suspect.
Yeah, it looks very nice.
So
Yeah, so we were just chatting there. Maybe you should do a Phantom one. That would be pretty special.
I think that'd be a really good. There's a massive Phantom following out there, and I think a Phantom gin would go down a treat.
Because they do. I think it's gin and rum. Which would you prefer?
I think gin.
Gin, yeah.
I think most aviators probably they might not admit to it, but they're gin aficionados in the background. So but yeah, I mean normally they want beer.
Yeah.
But everybody likes the gin and tonic.
So what was it like Friday night, like you call it happy hour and the bar? What was that actually like? Was it just like a bunch of you guys just getting pissed?
It was mandatory back in the day.
Yeah.
Everybody had to go to happy hour on a Friday night on a squadron. Yeah, it was almost expected of you. But time at the end of the week to wind down. So people would get together.
So it was needed.
It was needed, yeah.
And how big was the old club or what the officers' mess?
The officers' mess. They're all very traditional. They all follow the same sort of standard build, and it was interwar years. And there's 2 wings and a big sort of triple arch portico in the middle there, and the bar is tucked just behind the centre area there.
All right.
But it is the heart of the officers' mess. That's where everybody used to go for a beer. Friday night was the place to be. It was the place to be. A few people tottered home on bikes afterwards, but got taxi rides home. But it was great fun, and as I say, almost mandatory. In Germany, my goodness, it was the social heart of the area. So you spent your life in the officers' mess at Wildenrath.
Because how long were you in Germany for? Like how many years?
3 years.
Which did you enjoy overall, though?
Yeah, great fun.
Yeah.
Work hard, play hard. Flying was fabulous. The mess was great. Sat in the trees amongst the German forest. Duty-free booze and duty-free cars, and so you worked really hard during the week, but played hard at the weekends and enjoyed it.
So talking about the flying over there, like what kind of stuff would you do? Was there many limits in terms of what you could and couldn't do?
Yeah, there were fairly strict limits, but we kind of worked to the edge of the envelope.
Yeah.
If you followed the rules precisely, you would never have flown, because it was often very murky out in the low flying area. But we would operate in the low flying areas all the time, at low level, at high speed, chasing Jaguars, Buccaneers, Harriers.
Were you allowed to go supersonic?
Not overland.
Not overland.
That's not true. We were allowed to go supersonic overland, but you had to be above 36,000 feet.
Yeah.
So, but that was normally a sort of a night sortie that you'd fly the supersonic stuff. The average day, you were supposedly restricted to 420 knots. The MUDs could do 480 knots down to the target, IP to target, and we were allowed 540 if we were chasing them, and that was supposedly the limit. Yeah. Occasionally, over enthusiasm came in. And it's actually quite difficult to monitor the speed if you're chasing somebody down. So, but you would get airborne. Hopefully, a nice blue flying day. Transit out to the low flying area that took about 15 minutes, and then once you're in the low flying area, the game was on. If you found somebody, you'd have a go at them. If they found you, they'd have a go at you. So it was World War III most days.
So how did you avoid like collisions and stuff like that? If it wasn't
that was the problem. It was see and be seen.
Right.
So you got very adjacent to people quite often. because it was busy. You think at that time there were 4 squadrons at Bruggen, there were 3 squadrons at Loughborough, there were 2 squadrons at Wildenrath, and then German, Dutch, and all the rest of it, squadrons everywhere else. It was busy in the low-flying area. You very rarely went out to the low-flying area and didn't see anybody. It was normally, avoid really the crowds.
Cool, yeah. So what was the banter like over there between different jets and squadrons?
Oh, as always, heavy. Yeah,
really.
Yeah, particularly Bruggen being on the doorstep 4 miles away. The Phantom Jaguar Banter was brutal on both sides.
Did it ever get to the point where it got like nasty or anything like that, or was it always just banter?
I don't think so. We did have the unfortunate incident where we lost a Jaguar because a Phantom from my squadron actually shot it down with a Sidewinder. It was one of those difficult things, and it's well publicised, and I have every sympathy for the crew, there, but for the grace of God and all that.
Of course.
But the Jaguar did crash, but happily the pilot got out.
Which is the main thing.
Which is the main thing.
Definitely, yeah.
Lots of lessons were learned, what to do, what not to do. So it got a little bit tense at that time, but aircrew are professional, and it was a terrible accident. But both, sadly, Alistair died last year, passed away. But the pilot is a good friend of mine and an incredibly talented pilot. So he did what he was trained to do, and sadly that day he was carrying a live weapon load. But all the pluses and minuses of that are all documented.
Course, yeah.
Yeah. So apart from that, no, really good banter. I remember one epic. We had a happy hour one Friday night, and the Bruggen wing. We'd just had a big exercise between the 2 squadrons that actually I'd put together, and we decided to have a big happy hour. So the Bruggen wing, after we'd finished the flying, we had a big push on the Friday morning. We launched about 16 aeroplanes. The Bruggen wing launched 48 aeroplanes out into the low-flying area onto Alhorn Range. And the target was a piano. They had to put a practice bomb through the piano. And if they did, they won. If we did, or if they didn't, we won.
Right.
So we launched the thing, and we had our usual Balbos out in the low-flying areas. And then they did their target runs on the piano on Alhorn Range. They pinged and pinged and pinged and pinged. Number 47 had missed, and we're all out there thinking, we've got it. Number 48 put it right through the middle of the piano. So the Bruggen wing won at the final stages. And so they climbed on the train at Bruggen afterwards. And the train there were tracks from Bruggen all the way onto the mainline tracks and then down into Wildenrath. So they came down on a train. And when they arrived in Wildenrath, in the siding, they climbed off, and we got the noddy train out for them, which was used on air days for ferrying the kids around the airbase. And they brought them across to the officers' mess. We obviously served them milk, for starters, as you would for a Jaguar squadron. But we had a fantastic happy hour, and great banter on both sides, and all sorts of rowdy sort of things that I won't go into. But
it sounds like the coolest job. I mean, would you? I mean, looking back now, would you change it for anything? Or if you could go in a different path to create it, never.
No.
Yeah, it seems like
I had an absolute ball.
Yeah, and all the stuff that you've got in the backdrop here, which I'll take some photos. Yeah, and some great stuff. But I'm going to get pretty, not nerdy, I would say, but I'm going to get quite kid-like. So, how fast could a clean Phantom, let's say, from takeoff to go into supersonic, how long would that take?
It's difficult.
Depending on
there's no easy answer to that. If you got airborne on the coast and you went out of the sea, a lot of it was rules, what we were allowed to do, and you had to go supersonic off the coast. So if say you got airborne from Coltishall and you headed up the North Sea, you could hit 750 knots, which was our rules limit, before you hit the coast.
Okay, right.
750 knots was supersonic.
Yeah.
So you could do it. And that was quick. You're talking seconds. Maybe 60 seconds, something like that. I don't know. I'd have to look in the books to work it out.
Quick.
But quick.
Yeah.
We were limited at 750 in service, but the airframe was limited at 850 from the manufacturer. And in the early days, I'm told by mates that were flying the airplane at that time, they were allowed to do that, particularly on the air show circuit. So 850, and the airplane would do it. You'd have to coax it there at low level, but it'd do it quite happily, allegedly. If you if you wanted to go supersonic at height, though, it was a bigger challenge because above 25,000 feet, the airplane wasn't massively comfortable. So you had to do this sort of funny yogi bunt type maneuver. So you'd climb to the tropopause, which was invariably about 35,000 feet. You'd then bunt over and you'd accelerate supersonic. So you'd come from 0.9 through to about 1.1, 1.2. And then you'd use that speed to zoom up again. And you'd keep the burners in and see what you got. With tanks on, you had to stop at 1.6. If you had the tanks off, you could carry on. And I saw 1.9 with a gun on and no tanks. But you had to work at that. You really had to work to get to 1.9.
Yeah.
So all this about it did Mach 2 with the Spays, not really.
Yeah,
probably the J would.
Yeah, because you always see that, like, the book answer, especially, like, I think Tornado was like 2.2, but I think you said that's never really the case.
I think the Tornado was more capable of 2.2 than the Phantom was of Mach 2.
Yeah.
Because you could get the wings back. And what the Tornado did very well was go in a straight line quickly. So it was the same sort of profile at height. But with the wings back in 67 and the blowers going, particularly Mark 104s or Mark 106s that we fitted at times, yeah, you'd get Mach 2, and lots of people did.
Yeah.
It was a slippery jet.
Yeah, I've heard that on many occasions.
And that was really good if you got wrong in the fight and you were getting out, you could run away quickly. So
which is always good.
Which is always good. Yeah, if somebody's behind you with something, a big rocket, it's always good to run away.
But what was the toughest aircraft to fly against in the Phantom? What did you find that was really difficult?
I suppose probably the F-15 in my era.
I'm guessing the C, or was it?
It was A's when I was flying in the squadron.
Yeah.
C's later on.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of work with the C when I was as an instructor on the OCU. And it was a good all-round aeroplane, and by then the weapon system had matured and developed, and it had helmet-mounted sights and the whole 9 yards. So it was a very capable aeroplane. Not so much so in the early days, and people forget that aeroplanes take time to develop.
Yeah, because everyone says the F-15 should have been our favourite jet, but I think you argued it probably wasn't right at that time.
At that time,
yeah.
We looked at the F-15, we looked at the F-18, we looked at the F-16. The F-16 was, it had 2 sidewinders on at the time. It was not a patch on the Phantom. Although it was great in a close-in fight. And people forget that because often they compare it with 2 aeroplanes that have got together and are turning. Now, that's not the way you fought the Phantom. You held at arm's length. So actually the important thing in combat is how big's your rocket.
So so you got how far you can see, and how far could the actual Phantom see before the enemy would even know?
I mean, typically a Phantom radar against another Phantom would see 40, 45 miles, 50 miles on a good day. Against an airliner at medium level, maybe 80 miles down the road. Against a Bear, 80 miles down the road. Against a Little Hawk, maybe 25, 30. So it depended on the radar cross-section. And it depended on whether you're at medium level or low level. Down low, lots more noise, receiver cuts back and you don't see as far. So it's not a simple answer. But you would say you'd expect about 40 miles against another Phantom, even at low level. Him at low level, you at height.
So what would I think you only flew on the Spey engines, that you didn't go to the J79s, the J's, did you?
I had a few rides. I flew as an evaluator on the F4F, which had the J79s. Yeah. So I did have some experience flying that particular
what were your thoughts on that, actually? Which did you fly?
Great. I mean, the J is... that type of aeroplane with the J79 is a very capable aeroplane. I think the Spey, and people will argue with this, we always have this discussion when Phantom operators get together. Generally speaking, most Phantom pilots probably like the J more than the M or the K. But down low, the Spey was incredibly effective. It wasn't as smoky. It was more frugal.
Was that what it was designed for, down low?
Yeah, exactly that. Bypass turbofan down low. So you could make an F4M go a long way. And what's more, if you took an F4F out to the low flying area, he'd probably go home 10 minutes before you would.
Oh, really?
So down low, the F4M, which was where we were using it, had the advantage. You take it above 25,000 feet, and now the J79 has the big advantage. It's a jet. So up high, going faster, going higher, it's better. Yeah. But you'd expect that.
Of course.
That's what the engines were designed for. Sadly, the thing that kind of spoiled the F4M was the slow reheat. And
Yeah, was it a couple of
could
seconds
be,
or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be up to 5 seconds before the reheats kicked
I
in.
heard that before, yeah.
And you needed that. So pilots were frustrated because it wouldn't kick in, therefore, and you needed reheat to turn.
So you kind of have to like think 5 seconds ahead almost.
Exactly that. You know, if you're thinking about it, it's almost too late.
And with
so
the
that was a
J79s
frustration. J79 instant.
straight away.
But there again, ironically, the F4K for the Navy had fast reheat. So it was instant reheat on the K for the carrier.
So how did that work?
Well, it got modded out because it reduced the life of the engines. So it's a maintenance thing rather than a performance.
So why didn't they do that with the REF ones? Is it just, again, cost?
Yeah, cost. Yeah, you have fast reheat, then the engine works harder, therefore the engines last less. So yeah, and that was an issue both with airframes and with engines. The airframes, you know, you pull lots of G, the airframe runs out of life quicker. So you're limited. You know, they check what the fatigue index is, and you know they have to do stuff.
Of course,
it's expensive mod programs. Therefore, you're told, don't pull so much G.
Getting told off. But what were the F3 engines like compared to the Space? Did you find them like a better engine in general, or
similar concept? But the RB199 was designed for the bomber, so it was developed for the fighter, but it was designed to go a long way frugally. You know, to get a bomber across to the other side of the Feber. So as a fighter engine, it wasn't great. So it was developed, and we got, you know, with the Mark 104, we got more reheat, but not a lot of extra cold power thrust because it wasn't designed to do that. If we'd said it needed to go out to the combat area and then it needed to operate combat tight turns at 9G for 5 minutes, we'd have got a very different engine. But we didn't. We said it needed to go out to cap and go around in circles for half an hour. And so that's what you get. We looked at putting the EJ200, the same engine as the Typhoon, into the Tornado, and it would have been brilliant. It would have suddenly improved things massively. But it was a massively expensive program, and there were lots of design issues of getting it in there.
So it probably wasn't
worth
worth
smaller, it would have fitted, but at that stage, Typhoon was coming along, and at that stage, money for the Tornado is going downhill. Therefore, such an expensive program was never going to run. So we didn't get it.
Yeah.
That was in my time in MOD.
Yeah.
They were looking at that, but it was pretty obvious fairly early on that the people with the money strings weren't going to pay the bill.
It's a shame, yeah. But obviously, the Tornado went out in service in 2011. Do you think it could have carried on? How many years do you think it could have carried on for?
A bit like the Phantom, it was arguably at its peak. I mean, the Phantom in '92 had loads of fatigue life left on it. It had some radar updates. It had some mods for the Gulf War. So it was actually still a capable airplane.
So you think it could have went on for maybe a couple of more years?
Tornado could have gone on for another 5 years.
I mean, the GR did, so that went on for a while.
My personal theory, what I have, is that the best bet would have been to run on 2 squadrons of the SEAD modified aeroplane. So we did some mods during the Gulf War II to let the aeroplane do suppression of enemy air defences role. So we did some mods to allow the radar to be used as a jammer. We did some mods on the radar homing warning receiver so it could see where the threats were. And we strapped alarm onto it. We strapped paveway 2 bombs onto it. So it could have been a very effective SEAD aeroplane, but I think politics got in the way of that. But had the money been there, run 2 squadrons of those on for another 5 or 6 years.